welcome back, everybody, to this week's CBSI Hot 10 show. We're going to run down our list for you in just a minute, but make sure you go over to the website and check out the article where I give you a little bit more detail, a little bit more data than we might give you here as we're doing our talking points. Also, make sure you stick around later for the Get Off My Lawn show. The boys will be live right after we're done doing this show, and check out all of the content here on the channel, as every day I've got new content hitting for you. We got shorts, new shows, live shows. Check out the shows on Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday live. And if you want to see this week's hottest books, just hang out for a few seconds after the intro, and me and the boys will be right back. All right, boys, let's get right into it and get to our notable sales.
Notable sales.
First up, Planet Comics number 9.
Yeah, so Planet Comics number 9. This is a 1.8. This book actually had sold before about a year ago. I actually thought this should make at least a 10th spot on the list. I got voted down on this. Everybody decided that this would be a good book to put up there. But then when it came to the voting, I'm kind of spicy about it because it definitely should have made the top 10
sale.
Hold on. It's a noble sale, but it's a great sale. Number 2, because the sale was 3 times as large as it was a year ago. This exact same book sold, the 1.8 sold for $360 a year ago. This year, $955.
Not even a year. Less than a year.
Less than a year. Thank you for that. This is a book by, depends on how you want to say his name. But Nick Cardy with an I, Nick Cardy with a Y, Cardi B with a B, Nick Vic Cardy, whatever the heck you want to call this guy, because he calls himself 15 different names. Classic book, great golden age, 1.8. This kind of shows you too, like where, when you hear everybody saying down market, we're in a down market, and then you hear people say like, oh, the market's not down for me. That's because some people have made smart moves. If you were the guy that bought this book for $360 less than a year ago, it was a smart move. It really was. That's why I think it's probably should have been in the hot 10, but it's not just one person's hot 10. Everybody votes in the hot 10.
It's just one sale. It's just one sale.
Boo.
That's why it's notable. That's why it's notable. It's just one sale. Just like the next book, which also fits the notable sales because it's only one sale. Granted, this book doesn't come up often, but this Spawn incentive, this 1 in 25, Todd McFarlane, homage to Savage Dragon 1, as you can see, with all that intense action that he has inside this book. This is a black and white version. I like the color cover better, personally, but the 1 in 25 is the black and white version, and only one sold, but it did sell with a bunch of bids, and it did sell for $330. So that's nothing to sneeze at. This is, again, a popular book. Even the regular color version, which is the regular issue, sells, close to $100, $100 plus. So the 1 in 25 at $330 seems reasonable, even with those 21 bids. And just for reference, a 9.8 was $350 back in December. This raw sold for $330. So that's why it stood out and is notable. Would we call it hot? Maybe, but it's still just
McFarlane fans are crazy, dude.
It's intense.
Yeah, they're something else, man.
They are. They are a rabid fan base.
Well, no, I mean, it just like this book doesn't feel original. You know what I mean? It just
it's an homage. That's the whole point.
To himself.
It's a callback to another book.
Yeah, to himself though. Like, is it just re-art? I mean, he's just retouching up re-art.
No, it's not his art. It was Eric Larson.
fair.
Larson.
Yeah, fair.
So
but he still owns it. I mean, it seems kind of.
Yeah, well, he did it for all the Image titles. But those books during that time frame, those 10 issues or so, they're all pretty popular. Now, and a few of them are him homaging himself.
I love the fact that it says it's intense action on the bottom.
Yeah, you need that intense action. It's like a Liefeld line right there.
From Todd McFarlane, because you might not realize that that's Todd
McFarlane. Aware who did it.
Does anyone actually read Spawn?
Branding.
I think they just collect the covers.
I do just get them, but I will admit I have not read this in
couldn't tell you one storyline.
A long time.
Well,
but he is in Call of Duty
John
right now.
Leguizamo shows up, and he's this.
He is in Call of Duty. I know Mark is excited. He's shown up in Call of Duty. You can get your Spawn skin.
That will be a mess.
Say what you want about it. There could be a Spawn book on a list every week because people love Spawn and they buy Spawn.
Yeah, they do. Spawn sells.
Well, you get to choose between Spawn or Snoop Dogg in Call of Duty now. Who are you
Don't
choosing,
forget Cardi
Marco?
B or
Neither.
Nicki Minaj. One of them.
Either. But season 6 just started, so
Yeah, that's Spawn.
Sniper's got to snipe.
Yeah. Anyway, enough on that. Let's get into the actual list, starting off with
Number 10.
all right, our number 10 book, Power Man and Iron Fist, number 79 from Al Milgrom. What you got on this, Joe?
Well, live action spec is going to live action spec. This book is the first appearance of the Dreadlocks or the Incinerators. You have Professor Gamble in this as well from the Time Variance Authority. So Loki 2 spec is starting to heat up a little. I have seen in the IMDb's the casting of a Judge Gamble who goes against the Incinerators, who kind of try to clean up matter in the timelines that have gone astray. So people are starting. Sorry, go ahead.
How cool is the name Dreadlocks compared to Incinerators? I think Dreadlocks is like
Incinerators make sense because they kind of take the junk from the screwed up timelines and destroy it.
Yeah.
So it makes but
more sense. The Dreadlocks seem like it would have been a sweet 90s movie starring Wesley Snipes and maybe, I don't know, Sylvester Stallone or something like that.
Do you need anyone if you have Snipes?
Well, yeah. Snipes. I mean, sometimes you need somebody to kick him around. Or what was the guy that used to do splits all the time?
Van Damme.
Think about that. Wesley Snipes and Van Damme. And Wesley Snipes is the Dreadlock that tries to wipe out Van Damme.
Look, just right on the screen right there. You got Power Man and Iron Fist, a Jean-Claude Van Damme and Wesley Snipes team up. There you go.
Boom.
It's perfect.
Boom.
But nonetheless, this book's moving a bit. It's picking up some volume, but the one thing we're really seeing with a lot of this live action spec anymore is you're seeing volume pick up on rumors, but you're not really seeing any major price jumps on things. So it's a book to keep an eye on, think about, but
this is even
live action spec is going to live action spec.
You can find this in those cheap boxes, so don't get too overexcited, but still, it's fun to hunt.
By the way, we're copywriting that Jean-Claude Van Damme / Wesley Snipes movie. Copyrighted.
So I'm gonna have ChatGPT write the screenplay tonight.
Well, we'll work on that as we get into number 9.
Number 9.
So our number 9 book is Sonic the Hedgehog, Amy's 30th anniversary. I don't know if you guys know this, but Amy Rose has been around for a while. A lot of people are thinking she might show up in the third movie, and I don't think that's a bad play if you think it's going to happen, because, I mean, we got Tails, we got Knuckles in the last one. We know we're getting Shadow in the third movie. You think that's going to be it? Probably not. Amy's probably a good bet to be one of those other characters they bring into the fold for this Sonic 3.
Also, too, if you have kids, especially boy and girl mix, when they're watching like the Netflix stuff or the stuff on TV, the Sonic ones that have the combination of Shadow and Amy in it are very popular, especially considering like the playground talk around Sonic. Of course, girls will like whatever, but like when they like to connect to a character, and Amy being the predominant female character in Sonic the Hedgehog, never a bad idea.
Yeah, and we've seen this before. Some of these Sonic retailer incentives, these 1 in 10, some of them pop, not every one of them do. This is a case where most of the sales are $15 to $20, which is again above that 1 in 10 ratio, but there was a high sale of $50 just mixed in there this week. So there's about 10 sales thereabouts, not a ton, but enough to get, catch my eye. We'll have to see what happens over the next few days. I mean, this book's only been out 2 days that we've been doing this, so we'll see what happens over the weekend and see if there's more come to market. But
her first appearance was in Archie Comics, the Sonic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to go back to think it was issue 25 with the Metal Sonic, and you got what's his name? What's the bad guy? Is it Robotnik?
Robotnik, yeah.
Yeah, Robotnik's in there, and he's got her captured in the issue. Like, it's this whole thing. She was like Sonic fangirl or something.
I want to throw this out there too. I think they're coming out with like 4 more Lego sets or 3 more Lego sets that are Sonic based also.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when you're thinking about that, I mean, I know we've been talking about Sonic on the Rise for a while now, but like when Lego starts putting out sets about, your franchise, it's probably a pretty good bet. So
yeah, it is. It is a telltale sign. But with that, let's move on to our number 8.
Number 8.
Up next, DC Comics presents 26, and I know Bruce has something to say on our DC side of things.
Me being a DC fan, they're probably the only one on the East Coast right about now. I love this book. It's the first appearance of Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven, and also Guard changes his name to Changeling. You know, it had a high sale of 1,525 after 19 bids, and the last couple of CG98 sold for about 1,000. This is one book you can't go wrong. Teen Titans are still popular today. They've lasted 40 plus years, so
they have. Can't go wrong when a book has multiple first appearances, and they're not like crappy side characters either. You said it. Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. You're getting 3 for 1 in this book. I'm a fan. I did get one. Thankfully, I got one.
The only problem the only problem I dislike about this book is the cover. It's not the sweetest cover.
It's not a greatest cover because it is, Soups and Green Lantern. It's not focusing on the team, but
I mean, it is what Titans in the background in the minis, but it was not the.
Hey, it's no Avengers 10. Like, it's not that.
Oh, yeah, not Avengers 10. No, not that bad.
It's not that bad. But with that, let's move on to number 7.
Number 7.
All right, with this one, we have another retailer incentive, high ratio virgin version of that EM Gist cover for Dr. Aphra number 36. This was a 1 in 100 incentive. You can get a trade dress version for cover price if you don't want to pay this premium, because this thing got expensive. Granted, only like half a dozen sales in total, but the pre-sale prices were around $160. It did hit a high over $200 with a best offer. I think they were asking $250. They took $212. And it's just one of those things. These 1 in 100 Star Wars books just seem to be something people want to collect, regardless of what the subject matter is. This is Ahsoka, and what is it, Morkai or whatever? I don't remember the owl's name, but it is Ahsoka at least. At least it's not just a big fuzzy, Ewok just zoomed in on that one Ryan Brown cover. Yeah, so you at least got that going for you.
Yeah, I mean, I know people say that Mars kind of looks weird because her wings are really big. This is like typical. This actually, if you would go back and guess the next 1 in 100 for Star Wars, I think the data would be almost identical. It does seem like this is a repetitive situation with it. The first week you see these type of numbers. This is one of those books. I mean, I know people complain when a book shows up on the top 10, and then by the time the top 10 list comes out, or a couple weeks later, or within a week, you see it and it goes downward trajectory. But this is that book. It happens every time. This happens almost every time with almost every 1 in 100. Unfortunately, I think the only one that it didn't happen with is Max Rebo. But I mean, people don't have good taste. Well, I'm just saying, not everybody's got good taste. I can't help with everybody's taste. You know what I mean? You get a crazy Ewok, but you got no love for a guy with no arms. But yeah, I mean, this is something that we've seen over and Max Rebo doesn't have arms. He plays with his feet. It's common knowledge. Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
I watch Star Trek, you know that.
Well, that's unfortunate for you. I don't know why you're abused as a child. So I'm just saying, I
kind of liked it, actually.
Okay. Anyways, though, yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. This is probably like the 6th or 7th one.
Yep.
Out of 8 of these 1 in 100s that we've seen do this, if not the exact same number lines, pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. So there you go.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. But as Marco said, we've seen this happen again and again. So we're just going to go on to our
number 6.
And with that, yes, it's back on the list. Heir to the Empire 1.
I am not huge on repeats unless there's a reason why, and there's a reason why for this to be a repeat. Not quite as high as it was the week before, because it was a pretty interesting repeat, but not that spectacular. However, the newsstand went from 1,000 to 1,525. That's pretty important. It's only one sale, but it is. Raw copies are going from roughly 100, 120 up to 150. That's, I think, why it's in the 6 range and not higher, because 36 more sales, cool. If it was a $200 jump, I think in raw copies, I think it would have made higher on the list. But definitely notable that it made it on the list because of so many copies of this selling, especially a week after, right? We already saw them We know he's not dying. We know Thrawn's coming out and he's going to be in a movie. We know all that stuff already. Usually you would see a drop off the next week. This might be a new era in comics where there's a little hesitation between, well, it's already been weird, like the selling routes of how people are buying books when a character actually shows up on screen, not when he's in the trailer anymore. And now you're seeing this where it's like, oh, wait, we're going up from seeing him week 1 to week 2. Very interesting. Want to see what this book does next week. And surprised at it. Really am, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. I think it's a new, I think sometimes you can't stick to the same rules. Sometimes you got to be flexible in comics. So
I think that he's going to be a sustained character, and the fact that people like the character helps a lot too. It was pretty well received.
Yeah, a few jokes aside, pretty well received as a whole.
Yeah.
And with that, let's move it on.
Number 5.
Oh God, that's terrible. It's more like what is wrong with you? Have you never watched Transformers before?
I'm not Michael Winslow, but Transformers #1 is our number 5 book.
Well, we got
definitely more of a Tackleberry.
We got about 20 sales on this book, and that's probably due to the #1 is releasing by Skybound next week.
Yep.
Mid to high grades are selling for 100 to 120, and probably see this book on this list again. I think so. People love Optimus Prime. People love Transformers. You know.
Yeah, they just need to be reminded to hit the list sometimes.
Just saying.
G.I. Joe will.
Yeah, definitely.
No doubt.
I don't know. We still got a couple of months. G.I. Joe's still till I think January or something, or is it December?
You got the Duke series coming out too, I believe.
Yeah, Duke's starting it off.
Duke. Joe.
We'll see. And they're picking up the numbering. So even though Transformers is kind of restarting or reimagining the original Transformers, G.I. Joe, I think, is picking up at 301 when they do come back.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not going to make the noise on the outro. So we're just going to go to the next one.
Number 4.
Uncanny X-Men. I know Dub's just so happy to see this on the list.
Every week I suggest 5 X-Men books. Every other week I get 1 X-Men book on the list. This is interesting because when I first suggested it, somebody else had suggested it. I didn't even notice because I don't read the chat that much, and there's a bunch of stuff that goes up behind the scene. A bunch of different people put input in of books that they think are selling because of how they're getting their data or whatever.
A bunch of input you don't pay attention to.
What's that?
A bunch of input you don't pay attention
to. I don't pay attention to any of it. I don't pay attention to that. Well, I mean, I don't. Well, I just don't want to get I don't want to get influenced either. Like I want to have where I can have my arguments for stuff. And this book, this book, we all know that they're doing a reprint, like a facsimile, right, on this book. But it's also interesting that like the last book they did a facsimile on, also that the character of that book, this is for those that don't know, we get a little Emma, a little Kitty here. But like both books have had, like the other one had Rachel. Those are key characters that have been playing also in the books. If you guys weren't reading X-Men recently, Emma's got a big part in the regular series. And then Kitty, if you didn't watch Tack, Kitty's 2 children got melted into a pile of malting crap. So watch Tack, you'll cover it there. But it seems like there's a combination of reviving the character as full as that and doing a reprint at the same time. As much as people like to knock X-Men and Marvel in general, it seems that at least it's keeping an eye on some of their, more classic, popular characters. And you're seeing rebounds on this book. I mean, there was 25 sales, which isn't small by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying it's the largest amount of sales on this book, but you had raw highs now going for 330. There was obviously a 9.8 for 2,300. I mean, even the 6s and the 4s, 9.6, 9.4s are going for 400 and 580, 600 there too, which is pretty impressive, man. I mean, it's solid sales across the board. So to have that where you have multiple different sales, multiple different graded grades being sold for pretty decent numbers, obviously I think it's got something to say. And don't sleep on 141, mind you, because 141 is still doing pretty good also. Ever since
we had that on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, ever since
still out there, still moving.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Like those characters, I don't know if it's that they're just doing these reprints with these facsimiles that is bringing it back to people's minds, because there was a slowdown period there a little bit for X-Men. As much as everybody said they loved X-Men, you've seen some dips getting in these X-Men books and even in popularity and sales numbers. But it seems like whenever they're highlighting the characters in the main line, and I know everybody says people don't read comics anymore, but I think it's a combination of people reading comics and people seeing the facsimiles come up, and you see some of these books kind of move a little bit more. So look at your FOCs, man. You might want to, or read a comic book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
You never
helps. It definitely helps. So let's get on to the next one.
Number 3.
Snatched. And not
Auction
that
news.
movie with Goldie Hawn and Amy Schumer. This is apparently something even weirder.
Yeah, so I always get all the fun option books. So this is a scout book from 2021. It apparently has been optioned by Warner Brothers. It's apparently about the human hair trafficking trade.
What?
I actually
Yes.
watched a documentary on that before. It's real, dude. It is
And
real.
they also tackle certain social issues as well in the book. So it apparently has been optioned, which is forcing a good bit of volume moving on this book. I mean, about 50 sales. The highest is like 15, but most of them are around cover. So again, when you're seeing that kind of same trend of indie stuff getting optioned or live action spec popping up, and some of it just moves volume but doesn't really move price too much. So it is what it is. It's moving volume, so it's definitely notable to talk about, but still a book you can find cheap out there.
I haven't read this comic, but if they could, the documentary was educational but not exciting. But I could see how you could turn this subject matter into something that could be like
it's supposed to be pretty gory and
that's not the other side is they just really poor countries. They go there and have a bunch of kids and they shave their heads to create.
I think I'm going to start cutting my own hair. I'm not going to the barber anymore.
But then here you go. This one sounds good.
So all of a sudden, this is your fun indie option news of the week.
Hair cartels going crazy over it. Like they're on the corner. Hey, what you got here? What you got? Come on.
Nobody's taking anything from here.
Yeah.
They already got Joe. They got him.
While you're sleeping, it's gone. There you go.
What? The cartels.
That's hilarious.
Can I get an ounce of redhead?
All right. Let's go to the next one.
Number 2.
It's back, folks. It's back.
Yeah, what to say? I mean, it's still moving heavy volume, and it's still holding up price. Therefore, it's up there. I mean, that's a comfortable number of sales that's showing up there for a second week, and it's still pretty much holding in that $50 to $80 range. So it's hard to move this anywhere else.
Everything I said about Marvel during that X-Men book, I'm now taking back.
People like Capullo. He's going to be having some cool covers out coming.
That's
Moon Knight cover is going to be cool.
I thought it was Liefeld.
No. There's still a foot back there, but it's there.
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, you could not like this book. You could not like this type of the reasoning, I guess, why the book's selling, but it's selling. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
People like a gimmick, and it was a gimmick. You know, you had the one per order or one per distributor or whatever.
Distributor, we should call it. Not store. One per distributor.
The people, the idea of scarcity gets people to want things, and this is still something people want apparently because it's still moving volume. Yeah.
I did notice there's some people selling it damaged and noting it because this was polybagged and not the greatest polybag. Some people are still moving this for $15 to $20 saying, hey, look, it's damaged, but it's all yours if you want it. And people were still buying it because they just can't get enough of Wolverine and or Capullo covers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Sell them if you got it.
And there's a lot of blank space on that cover for a signature and a remark.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's kind of true. There's it's almost a blank.
There's a full upper right quadrant. There you could have a beautiful remark and signature.
Do you think he thought about the remark thing while he did that cover?
Probably not.
Because I've talked to some other artists and they have been like, well, I've already got like exactly how big my remarks are going to be for cons and stuff like that, how fast we can sketch them out and where I can put them on which books. So I mean, I'm not
Maybe.
saying that's what he did, but that sure looks like that's what he did.
Maybe. But
Mhm.
with that said, we still have one more to go.
And our number 1.
This week's number 1.
Oh, that
Super
thing's
secret
sexy.
spoiler cover.
No sound this time.
No sound.
No sound.
Well, the hype for this has been building since it appeared on FOC. People are hoping to hit that high like the Void Rivals number 1 in 100.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Shockwave cover. Everybody loves Shockwave.
They do.
I don't. He's not like when I was letting my kid when he started getting Transformers. I let him pick out what he wanted. And as far as the bad guys, I thought he would have gone with a different. But he likes, people like Shockwave. Not exactly my favorite in the
What?
What
a cool
Well,
look.
There's the endorsement we all need.
Yeah, no, yeah, there you go. No, but I mean, I'm surprised at like how Shockwave became like he's really popular. Like,
Yeah.
really
Considering he wasn't featured that much in the original animated series.
Yeah, I think that's why, because I like love the original animated series, so I always saw him as like a second tier character, and like, I mean, he's not anymore. He's not a second tier character.
And plus the nostalgia factor, people love to.
I
see
guess that's why
characters they're familiar with.
he's not that nostalgic for me because he wasn't in the first series.
Then as you got the meme of Shockwave saying, "Ooh, girls, you're supposed to be extinct, girl Autobots." No.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at once again to go back to when we were talking about Amy and like looking at Legos, picking up stuff, and you look at toys, like there's Shockwave does very well in the toy market. You know what I mean? It's like
he does. And this one again, most of the sales this week have been like double ratio, so you're looking at like $50, but there was a high 85. We'll see more. Again, this is only 2 days in. Remember this, guys. We're giving you this list early, and there's still a whole weekend and week ahead, and I imagine more of these are going to sell.
And I think some people are going to be late to getting it in hand as well. So
yeah,
it might take a little, a little hair for that secondary flip on the market to see that moving as well, to see volume. So
yeah, and a lot of
what shop was delayed again?
Midtown Comics.
That's right.
They took orders this week for this releasing next week.
So I mean that they do.
They supply a lot of people who sell comic books.
So you may not. I mean, yeah.
They do.
So I mean that might be it too. Like when people sometimes worry about not being able to get it, or they like the hype or whatever. I mean that's part of it. So, but it's a beautiful cover, guys.
And a lot of these books, I think a lot of people are taking these books and just putting them in their boxes too, because there are a huge number of Transformers fans that just love collecting Transformers for their PC.
That is absolutely true.
Nice.
And that's it. That's all we got for you guys this week. That's our list. That's our number 1. We'll be back next week with a whole new list of selections for you guys. And make sure you go check out the boys on all their places. Marco will be back on Sunday doing this Tales from the Dark Side show on Sunday here on the channel. Joe, you can watch right after this show with the Get Off My Lawn show. Bruce, you're going to have to wait till Monday because his Friday show already aired before we did this. So you got to catch him on Monday. But make sure you go to his channel and sub up. And you know all the routine here. Every day we got content. So with that.
And I'll be on SNS on Saturday.
Yeah, check out SNS. SNS is doing that segment Outside Looking In. So make sure you
that's right.
Go to OLI, man. Go check out the OLI.
Check it out on Saturday. And with that, we'll see you guys later.